Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of our podcast, Valley of Public Opinion. This podcast is hosted by me, Mia Niara,
and me, David Joe.
In today's episode, we are going to be talking about pornography. In layman's terms, porn.
Gushing, spewing forth a torrential rain of manhood into the center of the orifice that was once her mouth. It's too late. Before the moment passes, it is lost forever in the golden showers of our tender youth.
The term pornography refers to the representation of sexual behavior in books, pictures, statues, motion pictures, and other media that is intended to cause sexual excitement. The first known record of pornography's existence dates back to around 7200 BC. German archaeologist Harold Stabel uncovered a sculpture from that time which appeared to depict a man and a woman having sexual intercourse. The sculpture clearly showcased the male figure's genitalia, and its discovery challenged the idea that sex was a taboo subject for ancient societies. When the 79 AD city of Pompeii was excavated, there too many sexually explicit frescoes and sculptures were found. Back between 200 BC and 400 BC, the Kama Sutra was written, which remains one of the most popular books featuring sexually explicit content. Flash forward to 1748, Fanny Hill Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure was created, and is considered one of the first erotic and pornographic prose materials. Porn first really took off in France during the 18th century in the form of pictures, postcards, posters, and playing cards. The word pornography itself comes from France and wasn't added into the English language until 1857. In the 19th century, many campaigned against pornography, and as a result, people were obliged to pay fines for spreading it, and some were even put on trial for it. In 1899, the first softcore erotic movie titled Coucher de la Murière was filmed. Louis Willy performed a striptease and bathed in front of a camera in the film. In 1908, the first hardcore porno was released, titled Le Coup d'Or ou La Bonne Auberge. In America, the first X-rated film was released in 1951, titled Smart Alec. It was a silent film just 20 minutes in length and filmed in black and white. The first full-length modern pornographic film was released in 1972, titled Deep Throat. It featured 15 scenes of oral sex. The time period in which it was released is widely referred to as the golden age of porn. It began as Hugh Hefner released his first issue of Playboy magazine in 1953, featuring cover star Marilyn Monroe. Playboy catapulted softcore porn into mainstream culture and became the world's most recognized porn brand. It played a key role in turning pornography into the professional and lucrative industry it is today. While the golden age of porn did die down upon the AIDS crisis of the 1980s, as well as decency legislation in mainstream media, nowadays porn is back and bigger than ever, due to the wide access to digital cameras and the advent of the internet. The first porn site, Sex.com, originated in 1994. Now, over 40 million people in the US watch porn online daily, and the porn industry's annual revenue could total up to as much as $97 billion. This number is difficult to estimate, as today it's easier than ever for individuals to privately make money off their own non-professional pornographic content.
My name is Hugh Hefner, and I'm editor-publisher of Playboy magazine. I started with a personal investment of $600. In 8 years, I've built an empire worth $20 million.
He's discovered a new formula for packaging pornography, and it's made him playboy of the Western world at 34. He's into nightshirts, bumper stickers, and hotels, but mostly it's a magazine. Super glossy, sexy as saran wrap. 3 million an issue. The foldouts are airbrush clean from lower bosom to upper thigh. It's 1963 and the bust is big. But when he features Jane Mansfield, Hefner gets busted for obscenity. When Hef throws a party, the magazine comes to life. His Chicago mansion is a peeping Tom's paradise. 40 live-in bunnies are there to be enjoyed, but only by the eye of the beholder.
So today we're talking about porn. Very taboo, but also loved by many, just like all the great facets of pop culture. So I thought we would start with how old we were when we first watched porn, because I was in my research, I was reading an article that was like talking all about how big porn is with like underage people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it said on average people first discovered porn around 11. So
Right.
how old were you when you
Around that time
first
period
discovered porn?
too, I think it was around 11 or 12
Yeah.
when I first looked at porn.
Yeah. Tell me about it. How did it happen? What kind of porn was it? What was the medium?
It was on tape back in those days. Still through VHS.
Why don't you
But-
give them a...
Trying to remember what it was like actually about though.
Why don't you give them some context of when you grew up? Like, what decade you're from?
Oh, so I was born in the early 80s, and it was probably early 90s, I would guess, or so when I first watched, maybe. And then my dad just had things hidden, and I just happened to stumble upon him one day. Started watching one, I guess, and then just kind of wondering, what is this? And didn't really understand things. So that's kind of how it began there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What did you think about it when you first saw it?
Just didn't know what was going on. Didn't really understand anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your first venture into internet porn? Do you remember?
I remember it was dial-up. I don't really remember much about that. I think it was maybe I stumbled onto a site or something, and then just kind of didn't really look that much because the internet was so slow back then. It just wasn't worth waiting for just one little picture to load up and take 3 minutes to load. So I pretty much just gave up until I got faster internet, which was a couple years later. So probably by the time I was mid to late teens, probably is when I really started getting into it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of it that held me back was just this internet speeds back then.
That's funny. I
Old
feel
AOL.
like my first porn experience is probably a lot different than that. I was like, well, okay, the first time I found my parents' porn, I just saw that they had like a DVD. My mom had like a DVD. Um, it was like a big butt ebony type porn DVD that I found under her little couch in her bedroom. And I was like, I thought it was the funniest thing ever, actually. I like pointed it out to her and I was like cracking up and I was like, Mom, what is this? Like, I thought it was so
You showed it
funny.
to her.
Yeah, and then she hid it after that, and I never saw any others of hers, thankfully. But the first time I watched porn online was because my brother had a PlayStation, I think it was, and I would watch him play video games all the time because for some reason, I was never really good at playing video games when I was little, but I did enjoy watching him play video games for whatever reason. So I would like routinely do that. And one day when I was watching him play video games, I think he was just like searching up something on the PlayStation, but then if you like use your little PlayStation keyboard thing, the like history will pop up as you type. And so I saw like in the history or like one of the like top things in there was like Pornhub.com, I'm pretty sure it was. And I was like, what is that? I don't know why I was so like intrigued, but I was just because I had no idea what like I barely knew what sex was. And I was just like, what is this? Like I was just intrigued, and I like had my parents gave me like my first laptop back then. It was this little like crappy Dell laptop. But so I went on the laptop and I searched up Pornhub.com because I was curious. And then from there, I was like, whoa, because I was just, inundated with like all of this porn just right there in front of me. And it was actually kind of really terrifying for me at that age. It was pretty traumatizing because I didn't even know like how sex really worked. I didn't know it was like, I didn't know that like penises went inside of, I didn't know how that actually worked.
Yeah.
So that was when I first found out. I didn't at all know what penises even looked like. So finding that out was genuinely terrifying because they looked like alien tentacles and I was really scared. And I like, for the longest time, because I continued to look at porn after that, not even in a sexual way, just out of curiosity, because that happened when I was 8 and I didn't have any like really sexual interests until I was maybe like 12 or 13. So up in like that whole time period, I was just looking at it purely out of curiosity, but I could only really look at like girl porn, like lesbian stuff, because was just terrified me. It was just like so scary. I don't know. And
it was like forever for me to start looking at
it was like so
stuff.
traumatizing. Yeah.
I didn't even know there was that out there until years later.
Yeah, I just saw one. It was like such a graphic thumbnail and I was just like, oh my god, I was so scared. And then also I remember, because this is really funny, I remember when I first went on Pornhub, I saw these titles that were, all these titles had the word pussy in them, and I didn't know that word at all, and I had no idea what that meant. No, I didn't even think of that. I literally at the time I didn't even know it like associated with cat. I didn't even know what that word was. So when I was trying to read it, my little 8-year-old brain, I was like trying to figure out even how to say the word. I was like because I know like, pus comes out of like a cut or something, or like a zit. So I was like, pussy, like pusai. Like I genuinely was like, what is that word? Like it's the funniest thing. But yeah, that's how porn started for me. And then, like I said, I just, continued this like curiosity for it. And honestly, it was so weird. It was like I was like a weird little 8-year-old scientist or something, and I was like constantly just like researching porn. And I
did the same.
yeah, and I looked at a lot of like porn pictures because I did have I also had, because I wanted to be stealthy about it. So I like also would look at it because I on my Nintendo Wii there was like a little internet thing that was like so shitty, and it like hardly worked, and it took forever for like anything to load on there. But I would like look at pictures on there, and it'd be funny because it'd be like, one little stripe section of the photo like loading at once, and like
I remember that
yeah, it was
as
so
well.
frustrating.
I think at least you had something that loaded up somewhat quick to keep you aroused, where back in this sounds bad, back in my day 56K was the norm, and it was kind of like you click on the picture and wait for the full-size one. It took 2-3 minutes for it to load up, and by the time you're just bored and move on to something else. So that's why I kind of stopped looking much when we had dial-up, because it just took too long. And then I heard that there were videos out there too, and all my friends had like DSL or cable modem at the time, and I'm like, I want that. I didn't have that at all, so I had to stick with 56 for a while. But yeah, I did the tape stuff, the good old VHS. And,
I can't even imagine that.
At least with DVDs, you can just hit the back button, and you hit pause and just go back to where it began when you first inserted the disc and stuff. Or VHS, you kind of had to remember the exact time, minute, and second on the little display there, and then watch how far you went, and then have to remember, okay, where did I start it again? So you can hide your tracks that way. So that wasn't fun to do. And a few times I kind of had to forget, or I kind of forgot where I left off, so I kind of had to guess, and I was just praying that I was at least close and that he wouldn't remember. Remember where he left off last time or whatever. But yeah, so that was the joy with VHS. And then I found some magazines too, and I mainly just used those until we got faster internet.
I can't imagine jerking off to magazines. That's so like crazy and prehistoric to
Well,
me.
first little while I didn't, because I wasn't really quite to that point. But yeah, it was magazines, and then I get home from school and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I got an hour and a half, 2 hours before one of my parents would get home. So I'd find the VHS that I liked to watch, and it was pretty much the same scene over and over, every day, every other day, and just ended up having to watch the same stuff over and over. But it did the trick.
Yeah.
So.
When I started to get, I remember, okay, when I still had that laptop, because I was like, I was constantly looking at porn just for research purposes, not in any sexual way. I ended up like having, because it was like my little computer, and I was the only one using it, so I wasn't, concerned with like clearing my history or anything. Also, especially because I didn't even like know that it was like something that I shouldn't be doing, because it wasn't like me doing it in like some sexually devious way or anything. It was like I was just genuinely like, what is this? I just want to know more. And so I had like tons of sex stuff in my history, like tons and tons. And then Mom ended up looking at my laptop for whatever reason, and I got super in trouble and I got it taken away. And she was so upset, and I was just like so like frustrated and confused because I was just like, what did I
Yeah.
even do wrong? I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. But anyways, and then when I did finally start watching porn for like sexual gratification, when I was like 12 or 13, I used to watch the like HBO and like Cinemax like late night
Yeah, I never had those.
movies.
I
Oh
always
my god,
wanted to.
I always I always watched
I had to do it
those.
because we didn't have cable, but yeah, I had to do it where you kind of had to guess the channel and then move the bunny ears sometimes to try to get the right, like try to get at least some of the picture in or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there were times where occasionally I could get it, but most times I could not get it at all. So no, that didn't work for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I
Didn't have
used to
those.
watch those, and I used to
I
because
heard
it
they were
was
good.
that was like they were like some of them were super weird. There was this one where it was like this weird, like it was a lesbian thing, but it was like it was like a weird like sci-fi porno movie, and it was like with like literal alien tentacles, and like it was weird, but yeah. There was like a lot of strange stuff like that, but
Makes sense. Tentacle, lesbian, dicks are like alien tentacles.
Yeah,
so
I
it
guess
kind
so.
of matches up.
yeah. But that was when I was at my sister's house, and I used to be like downstairs in the basement,
Ooh,
and I
scandalous.
used to like have the like stair door closed, but then I'd be watching that, and then like I'd have the remote in my hand, and like I would have
Mhm.
like Disney or like Nickelodeon on like the back button, so if I could
Oh,
press back button real quick if anybody
That's-
open up the door, and the volume would be turned down super low, like on 1.
Yeah, there weren't laptops when I was younger, so we had the family computer. We had just one computer, but we had an old Packard Bell, for if anyone knows what those were back then. And yeah, it was in the basement, but the nice thing is you could always hear where it was located. It was kind of along the stairs. And for the most part, unless they were had walked all the way down the stairs and started to turn towards the computer, wouldn't know what was on the screen. So for the most part, it would be kind of hard to get caught. That was
Yeah.
nice because you could always tell, okay, you hear the door open from upstairs, and that gives you plenty of time to forget what it was. Well, I think there was still the X on the screen. I think it was Windows 95 maybe that I used. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was nice at least. Being in the basement like that. They didn't know what was going on. At least I don't think.
Yeah. Well, on that same topic, have you ever lied to cover up your porn usage watching,
I don't think so, because I never really got caught, as far as I know. There's no actual time when my parents were ever like, what were you looking at? Or let me see what you're looking at, or don't close that window. I need to see what you're doing. They never really did at all. But again, too, it was just kind of the advent of the internet back then. So there wasn't a whole lot of trouble I could get into. But back then, even too, you could look at history, but still there wasn't much of a history being kept, I don't believe, with Windows 95. And but no, I never, as far as I can remember, I never really had to lie about anything with that. I never got caught, as far as I know.
Yeah. I can't think of a
I
time
don't actually
either.
I know there was a few times I was close, where I'd end up having to open up another internet browser screen or something, because that was, of course, before tabs too. But I'd have to open up another one of those, or just turn off the monitor and be like, oh yeah, the computer died for a second. I don't know why. So I just had to do things to cover up if I couldn't close the window fast enough, or load a new page fast enough before they saw. So I was lucky.
Yeah. And have you ever spent like a
Hmm.
crazy, unusual amount of time looking at porn?
Oh yeah, college years. Because yeah, this was probably back. I mean, internet was well established then, but probably probably around 02, 03, something like that. Just that it was me and my roommate, and we had an apartment together and everything, but we each had our own room. But there were some weekends where we both didn't do anything at all, and so I was just kind of on my laptop then, just kind of off and on throughout all day long, just looking at porn websites or occasionally watching videos or whatever. Just sort of that's all I did like all weekend. So, but it wasn't really sexual stuff like trying to get off on it. It was just kind of I was bored of looking at everything else on the internet. So I'm like, I'll just look at porn for the whole weekend. So, or I'd be watching TV with the laptop on my lap, and football game was on, so I'd just be watching that along with looking at pictures or whatever. But I usually had a go-to site that was that always had the newest like previews, preview pictures for the pay site and everything. That was like the best site, and that was the best site too that didn't have a whole lot of pop-ups and stuff. So kind of went to one and just checked all the time. Ooh, new galleries. Yay.
Yeah.
So what'd you do?
I feel like, I mean, I can't think of anything specifically, but I don't know, I don't think that I have spent a crazy amount of time looking at porn, but I guess I
feel
just
bad. Dirty.
No, I think it's just like my perspective is like different because I realize I feel like maybe I do watch more porn than the average girl, and like I guess yeah, there definitely have been times where I'm just like having a lazy at home day and I'm like watching porn and I'm like watching porn, jerking off, like taking a mini nap, watching porn, jerking off, taking a mini nap, like all day.
I don't know if I've done that. Maybe
Yeah,
like an
I
afternoon and
definitely probably
evening or
have
something.
that.
But I back then, yeah, I didn't. It was mainly just I was bored.
Yeah.
I seriously had nothing to do.
It's really like if you're like stressed
Yeah.
or just like feeling a little under the weather, just not feeling good for whatever reason, or just like a little unhappy, just, that little serotonin high just for a little bit is really nice.
It does help. It helps you sleep too.
Yeah, it really does, especially for me. I think
Night.
that you also seem to think that I watch a lot of porn because whenever I do watch porn, I don't usually watch one video. Like I usually kind of make a playlist for myself of a few videos.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just funny seeing you got maybe a YouTube video going on, and then I'll see on the tabs or whatever like that. There's like 3 porn sites up and everything.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you're not like watching all day long, which is funny to see it like that.
Yeah, I guess we can get into that a little bit more after the break.
I think that that legally and culturally that our society and much of the Western world, and apparently at least to the same degree the eastern part of the world as well, is still suffering from really deep-seated sexual repression, and we are still a long ways from throwing off the chains of sexual superstition and
But why a bunny? I mean,
well, it's glamorous. You meet a lot of people, and all types of people. Family people and business people. And so nice. Every day you meet different people.
but you're not allowed to mix with them at all, are you?
No, you're not, and that's nice because you're protected.
Well, you say you're protected, but you're wearing, to put it mildly, the brief of costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which reveals a considerable amount of you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you find this embarrassing?
Is it?
Working like this?
No, not a bit. Not a bit, because when we're on the beach, we wear far less. Far less. We really do.
And we're back with our discussion on porn.
Sorry.
So we got a little bit into it before the break, but now we're gonna just continue talking about how we feel about porn now in our lives, and how we feel about the industry, and how we watch it, our habits, and all that good stuff. So, as I was saying before, I do watch porn. Well, okay, I don't watch porn as often as I used to before being in a relationship, I would say. And I think, like, at the beginning of my relationship, okay, since we were long distance to begin with, I was
Yes,
watching
we
a
were.
lot of porn then.
Guilty also.
Also specifically, for me, even more than visual porn, I like oral porn, so like audio. Especially when we were long distance, because it kind of is like I can pretend that it's like him with me and talking to me, and I can just like close my eyes and it's like he's there. And yeah. Also, I think a lot of times audio porn is a lot more, I mean, obviously there's crazy ones, but a lot of the times it's easier to find more like humanly type porn, and like more like gentle and down to earth and like more realistic type porn, rather than the like crazy, outlandish, super misogynistic, super fake porn that you would find on like browsers or something. Yeah, but so now I don't watch quite as much porn, but I do still watch a good amount. And when I do watch porn, I like to really make it an experience for myself. So like I will kind of, because he makes fun of me at how I like make music playlists for everything.
Yes.
And even if I'm not making a like legit playlist, just if I'm like in the car or getting ready or something, I will like queue up the songs that I want to hear, so I like have a nice vibe set for
If
myself.
it's not the right song, it's pause and
Yeah.
let me switch songs here, skip a
And
song
I do
real
the
quick.
exact same thing when I watch porn. And so like I don't know, just whatever category I'm feeling, I will like search that, and then I'll go browse those, and I'll like open a bunch in new tabs, and then I'll go through those one by one, watch a little bit, maybe move on, or maybe it'll be, that'll be the one, and then I'll be done. That's how I like to watch it. So
I'm a little more picky, I think, than I am in some ways.
I really like to. If I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna really get there, and I'm gonna make the most of it, and I'm gonna, get what I came for. I'm gonna get what I came for, and I'm gonna came what I get for. So, but how do you? Why don't you talk a little bit about how often you watch porn?
I don't remember when I actually last watched porn. I don't do it that often.
I watch porn a lot more than he does.
It's actually very rare that I watch porn, mainly just because I may decide like, okay, kind of need that release, but I'm like, well, do I kind of just want to get in bed and get comfortable, or spend 15 minutes trying to find something that I may want to watch? So most of the time, I just was like, no, I'll just go to bed. And then I'm like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And I'll do it tomorrow. And I never do. So that's why I rarely watch porn. anymore. But
I also think that you like appreciate sex more than anything, and you like prefer sex more than anything. And for me, I really do, like, even with sex, that like I still really cherish just masturbating by myself. And like I hate that word. It's so, I wish there was like a word that was less like gross sounding for that. But
I'm with you.
yeah, I really appreciate that. I have a lot of toys that I like to use, and I just like to, you know, have those personal moments of exploration.
Well, I'm good. I've done enough of that. I'm just kind of like, no, it just doesn't really get me anymore. I don't really want to do it myself anymore. It's more fun in person, and I don't know, having help, I guess, is more what I prefer overall. So, but I guess a lot of times too is that now if I do watch porn, it's more to actually get me turned on, and a lot of times I just don't really want to get turned on in the middle of the day or something, so I just don't even have it around. But I think a lot of that too, just sort of going back to before the last break, I was almost getting addicted to it. So that's why kind of now I've gotten to the point where it's like, well, I don't really need to watch it anymore. I'm sort of over that in a way. But I know if I let myself, I would end up spending half the day just watching stuff, just not even to get turned on, but just watching stuff. So I think that's why I don't do it as often anymore either. But no, I really more like the physical contact rather than just kind of spending time with myself, if you want to put it that way. And usually the only time that I would do it anyways now is mainly if I can't sleep at all. I'm having problems. I may lay in bed for an hour, I can't fall asleep, and finally I'm like, okay, well, let's just try this, see if it helps. And most times it does. But I think that might have been one of the last times that I watched or something. Maybe like when you were visiting home over the holidays or something.
Yeah.
I think it might have been then when I couldn't sleep one night. Just ended up, I had family in town and ended up having too much sweet or maybe a late night coffee or something like that, and just couldn't fall asleep. And that tends to happen, or that tends to help me a lot.
About that.
And big parties over here. So that's usually the only time that I do it. But I think that was the last time I did that, was when you were in LA.
Yeah. How do you feel about like the porn industry as a
For the
whole?
most part, I'm fine with it. There's just, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I guess I have more problems with the nasty companies that are going after those who literally are a day turned 18, and they're going after them saying you're going to do all this or just come in for this particular thing, and they end up doing a whole scene that's not what was planned or whatever, or that's not what the girl or the guy was wanting. And kind of, they may say that, oh, you're going to get this much, but in reality, they hardly got anything for it or didn't even get paid for it and just kind of used them that way. So that's kind of crappy. But I mean, overall, I think it's just a form of entertainment, really, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of opinion, I guess, on this for the most part.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it does really suck how corrupt, I mean, like most industries, like how corrupt the porn industry is, and how little a lot of like professional porn actresses and actors make compared to what the people who are producing these films make. It's just like crazy and just super unfair. Like there was that whole big thing about that, Mia Khalifa came out and said she only made like, I think it was like 12,000 or something from all the porn that she did. And honestly, I'm not even sure like how much she did actually do, because she wasn't in the industry for that long. but I know like she definitely became like almost a household name in terms of porn and like one of the biggest in the industry. So it really sucks to see things like that, but it is really you know, it's really nice now that we're seeing so many other avenues pop up for porn so that people don't have to just be controlled by these like big porn industries, and they can, you know, create their own porn out of there and like make their own money and like run their own business, you know, from their own home and stuff, and like make, you know, their own money going directly to them from like whether it be Patreon or OnlyFans or you know, even like Twitter, like just different things like that is really nice to see people really like taking it back kind of and like into their own hands. And but again, like obviously lots of stuff does still suck. It really sucks that like, you know, things like that get leaked, like the big leak that just happened. And yeah, and it you know, obviously there's a lot of other issues with like underage people viewing it and that kind of thing, and participating, and yeah, but you
Which is
know,
probably one of the bigger things.
positives and negatives.
Bigger issues too, though, is what I remember you said. One of the sites, a lot of people are seeing underage pictures or something like that, but it's so hard with all these smaller sites up there that are still kind of mainstream to really know what age they really are.
Yeah.
So that's made it hard, I think, for people to really believe what they're seeing, I guess, or really know what they're seeing, even though it's the site's responsibility to. I don't know how many of them are checking that. So that's a bit of an issue that's going on, I think, right now.
Yeah, that really sucks, and hopefully something does get done about that. But so porn, although it's very mainstream, it also is still very taboo, especially in a lot of circles. A lot of people are very like not okay with people watching porn, especially if they're in a relationship with them. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
No, you're the first that I've openly watched with in front of or together. So that was new to me. All the others, I pretty much always had to just hide it in a way. I'm not sure if they ever would have been open to that at all. I doubt it, but I always just kind of had to, you know, it sounds bad, but always had to, if I wasn't at her house or she wasn't over at my place, I would just look when I was just alone or whatever. So, but right now, no, it's kind of like no big deal because there'll be something on your screen, something on my screen, and I'm like, okay, whatever, what you watching? So it's a little bit more open with us, and so that's the first that's happened to me, I guess. And
yeah. Have you ever, I know we've watched some together, but have you ever watched it with anybody else? Maybe like a friend or something? I don't know.
No. None of my friends, as far as I know, we never really talked much about.
Would you
porn
find
at
it
all?
like uncomfortable or? Yeah.
Personally, I would, because I know it was just weird in the beginning with us even too, because I was just used to always doing that in, you know, like my own privacy, or just always hiding things because I've always been pretty private about everything with things. So it was just kind of weird. Just the first time or two, like, oh my gosh, I'm actually watching porn with her, or she wants to watch porn with me. How's this gonna work? I don't know. So it was kind of interesting, but now it's like whatever, you know.
Yeah. I feel like now I'm the one who
Yeah, you're a little bit more.
is like feels weird to
Well,
watch
we have
porn
such
with you.
different tastes.
Yeah,
different
we
tastes,
do
so
have
that's-
very different tastes. Like our category
Mhm.
choices are quite different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because you
um,
like a lot of pro stuff, and I'm not into the pro stuff as much.
yeah. I mean, I like a lot of different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of I sometimes I'm into like more amateur type porn. Sometimes I'm into more professional type porn.
Mm-hmm.
It really just depends on my mood, you know? It
Mhm.
really varies day to day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm into like a certain look, whether it's like, you know, facial features or something like that, or like hair or something, you know. Sometimes I'm into certain ethnicities, sometimes I'm into certain, uh, assets, asset sizes, if you will. It really just depends.
Yeah, I'm just
Mhm.
more. Well, actually, history-wise, it was very hard to find the amateur stuff back then, so it was always pro. And then once the sites like Pornhub and those, and then Tumblr too, people would post their own homemade videos too there.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite
That
site?
well, at the time it was Tumblr, but
Yeah.
till they wrecked that site, now it's mainly just Pornhub or there's another one. It's YouPorn sometimes. I think it's
Yeah.
usually it's just those two now, but I'm much more of the, for the most part, anything, but I just prefer amateur of anything mostly.
Yeah. I never went to Tumblr for porn really, but I did have a porn blog on Tumblr that I really loved, and
Yeah.
I was really sad when I could no longer see it or post on it anymore. But
Yeah, I would occasionally repost certain things, but for the most part, I kept mine clean, but still had that little not safe for work disclaimer just in
Yeah.
case I decided to post something. But for most of it, I put it under my likes. I just hearted it, and I think I had my likes private or something like that, so you couldn't see it, so no one could see it, and just me. So then I would just like, ooh, I like that, I like that. And anytime that I was like, oh, I don't feel like searching Tumblr, I know that I've got a few that I want to watch again, so I just go straight to my likes and watch them.
yeah. I really like the more like obscure-ish type like porn database sites where it's not just like one site, you know, like Pornhub or Xvideos or whatever it may be. It's like more of a database where it gives you like the full range of like any category you could think of,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
then
you
it
introduced
has
me to that
different
place.
links to like all kinds of different porn sites. I really like that
Mm-hmm.
because I have weird tastes sometimes, and sometimes I want something that's really specific, and 9 times out of 10, the category that I want isn't one of the like, you know, isn't on that like short list of categories on like porn. Because if you go on like one of the websites that I like, which is like I really like fuck.com. If you go on one of those sites and you look at all the categories that they have on that site, you will be like, wow, Pornhub has no categories.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good site actually.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite porn stars?
Not really. It's more I'm horrible with names, and I could probably see a picture of them and be like, oh, I like them. I've seen some of their stuff, but have no clue what their names are. And right now, I'm trying to think of two that I know that's in my head right now. Of course, my usual can't remember the names of them.
I really like Lana Rhoades. It's kind of basic, I guess, now because she's quite popular. I've found, but she's cool. Emily Willis is also cool. Anna Fox is pretty cool. I used to really like James Dean when it comes to male porn stars,
I've
but
seen a few of his.
yeah, I think that he might have some sexual misconduct stuff. So, if so, don't support that.
No.
That's not good. I know he is not a porn star any longer, and he is no longer with us. But if I had to like pick a vintage porn star, John Holmes, I think is pretty attractive. He sadly passed away back in the 80s because of the AIDS crisis and possibly was involved in some kind of crime thing, so that's not good. I don't support that, but just like based off I'm solely basing it on the porn itself. And I can't really think of anybody else off the top of my head.
One of them was I would occasionally watch Jesse Andrews. That was one of them. But then when I don't watch a lot of pros, so I'm sure there's tons of others out there, but also Sasha Grey was one that I would watch. So those were the two, I guess, that if I had to go pro right now, that would be the two. But I don't think either of them are doing anything anymore. I think they've ended their careers.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I'm mainly just homemade type videos is what I go after.
Yeah.
Or even compilations of pro. I'll sometimes watch that too.
Yeah. Oh, I really like, I don't know if she counts as a porn star. She is a YouTuber, Lena the Plug. Lena Nercesian, I think is her actual name, but she posts porn as well. And okay, so we have these statistics. Oh, where'd it go? These statistics on the most searched for terms on Pornhub. These are from 2018. But what do you think about these?
I'm actually surprised that it was the top one here.
Yeah.
For 2018. And Henry and MILF are kind of way up there, which is kind of surprising.
I'm surprised MILF is that high on the list, actually.
It's not something that I'm really into at all, so I know there's a lot out there.
I'm not at all into Henry. I don't understand, like, getting turned on by, like, animated stuff, but I know lots of people are into it.
I just like how MILF is higher than Mom, though. That's kind of funny. And then Massage. I've watched one of those, and it was the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I would never be into watching that, personally. Fortnite? That's really funny.
It was actually Fortnite out there. Well, I may have to do some investigating on that one. Big. Why is there big listed twice here, I wonder?
I think they bleeped it out. I think it's supposed to be big tits and big ass, probably.
Oh, yeah. Cartoon. Well, it's kind of... Maybe everyone's going to hentai the term now or something? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, there's one of my favorites. It's there. And the search is down.
Which one?
Yeah.
What? Okay. You like to watch that in porn, though?
I know it's kind of weird.
It's not. I'm not saying it's weird. I just.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying it's weird. It's just that, like, just like visually, it doesn't really pay off like just watching it the same way, because you can't really see it because it's like unless it's like a dripping out type.
It's a lot of them are the
I guess,
dripping out
yeah.
type ones, or the,
I guess if it's like something like that, I just
You
mean
pull
like
out, it
the
shoots, and you go back
act of
in or
it going
whatever.
in, you can't see, as
well, they got
opposed to
videos out
like
there with that.
no, but like when it's
Mhm.
happening going in, you can't see that part. You
Most
just
of them
see
you
when it's
can't.
like out, but like versus when it's money shot type.
Yeah.
So I think
I don't know why. I like that one. Don't know
I think
why.
this is interesting. I think this has been a really good, interesting conversation
Good first
about
podcast.
porn. Yeah. Very naughty first topic.
Very naughty.
But I think it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
This was fun. I did enjoy it.
Yeah. We hope you guys like this.
Mhm.
And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.